stalemate at WTO. And during the week, last week, we discussed 2 times about WTO, and second time, probably last Friday, we discussed most important aspect of this amber box subsidies, then green box subsidies. And now here we are going to deliberate what is the outcome of this ministerial conference at Buenos Aires, right? Ministerial Conference 11 became the third ministerial after Seattle and Cancun. So it is the third ministerial conference where no declaration could be adopted. And don't forget, this WTO works with the consensus. So any one country can become the deal breaker, right? So here, various aspects of MC-11. Now I divided this. In fact, I tracked all the news items for the past 1 week, and based on the recommendation, based on the news reports, I left whatever is explained to you, that is green box subsidies, amber box subsidies, peace class, all those things I excluded from this discussion, and here I concentrated on other issues. And here various aspects of MC-11. One pertains to fisheries subsidies. Here there is no agreement on interim solution for banning this unregulated, unreported fisheries subsidies, and the proposal that members will try and reach an agreement in 2019 that was only endorsed. India felt very happy in this context because there will be no immediate commitment to curb the fisheries subsidies. So India got more time to safeguard the interests of the fishermen. So this is one aspect. Second one is some countries, around 119 countries out of 164, tried to bring joint declaration on trade and women's economic empowerment. They seek to remove barriers and foster women's economic empowerment. So some countries, that is 119 WTO countries, in fact proposed this joint declaration on trade and women's economic empowerment, and the contention of these 119 countries is that will facilitate more and better paid jobs for women, and they will contribute to United Nations Global Development Goals, including Sustainable Development Goal, to achieve the gender equality. And not only that, as per the countries, the women's engagement in trade is important, as advancing women's equality could help add $28 trillion to global GDP by 2025. And India opposed it. India opposed with the view that the gender is not a trade related issue. That means India said gender cannot be a trade related issue. India is not opposing the move, but said it could not concur with the view that gender is a trade related issue, and linking gender and trade, the basic contention of India is linking gender and trade could lead to advanced countries using high standards to gender related policies, but also indirectly restrict developing countries. The contention of India is very clear. If gender is included, women's issues are included in trade, tomorrow developed countries may tell, don't incentivize the women. So it may become detrimental to the incentives given to women citizens in developing countries. That's why India opposed it. Here, linking gender and trade could lead to advanced countries using high standards in gender related policies to not only curb the exports from the developing world, but also indirectly restrict various incentives given to women citizens. So that's why India objected to it, and the world women rights groups are also objecting to that. World's women rights groups are also not happy because of the reason that they aimed at, in fact, making palatable neoliberal policies. That means already liberalization, and here liberalization is working against the interests of women in poorer countries, and so as to mask that, now it is coming up with a new term of this joint declaration on trade and women's economic empowerment. So women rights groups are also not happy with this. India is also not happy with that. So only 119 countries came forward and nothing could be moved on that aspect. That means gender and women was abandoned. Then special and differential treatment status. There is a question that some of the countries are questioning that why India and China are enjoying this special and differential treatment status in WTO. Developing countries and LDCs, least developed countries, enjoy benefits under special and differential treatment status under WTO. That means, what is the special treatment given to the developing countries under this special and differential treatment status? It is in fact leads to imposition of lower liberalization commitment on developing countries and least developing countries compared to developed countries. Here, under this special and differential treatment status, the developing countries and least developed countries, their certain rules and regulations are liberalized, and in comparison to the developed countries, the rules and regulations are not that strict for the developing countries and least developed countries. So here there are number of least developed countries. They are opposing India and China for being the status of S and DT. India's GDP, China's GDP is quite high. They are thinking of China's GDP is around $10 trillion. India's GDP is $2 trillion. And why the countries are enjoying this special and differential treatment status? But India opposed it. India said it goes against the mandate of Doha Development Agenda, which extends to all the developing countries and least developed countries without an exception. So India not agreed to the proposal of some countries where India and China should be stripped of this special and differential treatment status. And what do you understand by Doha round? Quite often we hear about Doha round. Doha round began in Doha in 2001. The main focus is development agenda to improve trading prospects of developing countries. There are several issues which are to be resolved to improve the trading prospects of developing countries, and they are inconclusive, and there is not much headway on those Doha development agenda. Under the circumstances, leaving that to the winds, now developed countries are coming with new 21st century issues like e-commerce, investment facilitation, then MSMEs and gender issues. All these things are being brought forward by the developed countries, leaving the Doha development agenda to the winds, which is not acceptable to India. And India and other countries are against these issues. What is the contention of India and other countries? India and several other countries from the developing world are against the introduction of these new issues. The contention of the developing countries is, it is important for solving the outstanding issues such as the ones relating to the food security and protection to the poor farmers, because there is a surge in the imports because of excessive subsidies in developed countries. First, let us solve this food issues, or you can say food security issues, as well as protection to the poor farmers, because these are the issues concerning developing countries and least developed countries. So let us first resolve these issues before bringing the 21st century issues of e-commerce, MSMEs, gender issues, all those things. So as per the news reports, India, China, South Africa have got the support of 120 WTO member countries on the issue of continuation of the development mandate of Doha Development Agenda. So first let us finish that before taking up the 21st century issues. That is the contention. Then dispute settlement mechanism. This is the fourth important issue. The major issue is United States of America is blocking the appointment of judges to the appellate body that would undermine dispute settlement mechanism. And at the WTO dispute settlement mechanism, in fact, 50% of the cases are brought by America, and for the appellate body, USA is objecting to the appointment of judges. So this is another important issue at MC-11. Then the attitude of USA. The biggest threat to WTO appears to be attitude of United States of America, and the world's largest economy lost faith in the organization and it began to undermine its most successful segments, the dispute redressal mechanism. In fact, it is not clearing the names for this appellate body. For appointment of judges to the appellate body, US has been directly involved in half of all the cases brought to WTO. Now there is growing frustration with the gridlock at WTO. Then the main issues pointed out by our Commerce Minister SURESH PRABHU, and these points can be used. What are the issues raised by India at WTO? India is committed to the importance of rule-based multilateral trading system as enshrined in the Marrakesh Agreement. After 8 years of Uruguay round of deliberations, this Marrakesh Agreement was concluded in 1994 and subsequently WTO was born. So India is in fact committed to this rule-based multilateral trading system. Then developing countries, all the developing countries without exception of India or China must have this special and differential treatment. There is some contention from some countries why India need this special and differential treatment. Permanent solution for public stock holding for food security purposes is to be ensured. Then large subsidies given by the developed countries must be reduced. Special safeguard mechanism. We are getting cheap imports from several countries. So agricultural produce we are talking about, and to protect the farmers in developing countries, special safeguard mechanism is the need of the hour. In the area of fisheries subsidies, balanced outcome is required to support millions of resource poor fish farmers. And entry related restrictions for movement of professionals, especially in software sector, must be addressed. Then domestic regulation issues should be seen in isolation in the trade related issues, trade related in services. So when you are looking at trade related services, then the countries must have some rules and regulations which will protect their domestic industry. Then before going into the new issues, now developed countries leaving the Doha agenda, they are not bothering about this peace clause, they are not bothering about the safeguard mechanism against import surges, but they are bringing the new issues like MSMEs, gender-based issues, investment facilitation, e-commerce, and let us keep them aside. First, solve the issues pertaining to Doha Development Agenda. Delay in appointment of new members to the appellate body is the major cause of concern. So these are the issues raised by SURESH PRABHU. And what is the outcome? It is without any outcome. Permanent solution for the public stock holding could not be delivered because of US decision to block it. But peace clause remains. MC-11 became the third ministerial after Seattle and Cancun, where no declaration could be adopted. USA says that there should not be any reference to Doha Development Agenda. And all the major decisions of WTO, the important point to note is, need to be taken by the membership as a whole, and even a single country can end up becoming the deal breaker. And United States of America is not at all cooperating. That is the irony in this 11th Ministerial Conference. India, in fact, thwarted the attempts by several countries, both developed and developing, to initiate binding discussions on 21st century challenges to trade, which include e-commerce, investment facilitation and MSMEs. And the contention of India and other countries is, let us complete Doha development agenda. It is already with us as a legacy, and let us complete that. Then only let us look at the new issues. India and China in a joint proposal says that the elimination of huge trade distorting farm subsidies of rich nations should form the basis of future agriculture reforms at WTO. So, the developed countries, please reduce your subsidies in agriculture. Most of the members insisted that an interim solution with immediate commitments to curb illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing subsidies should be agreed upon, but India, in fact, India insisted on no commitment before 2019, and some of the members have formed informal groups on investment facilitation, MSMEs, e-commerce with about 70 members discussing best practices. Such informal groups are just pressure groups and don't have any role in the rule making, right? So, it ended in a stalemate. Developed and developing countries divide widened. So, final conclusion, the widening gap, or you can say it ended in a stalemate. Developed and developing countries divide widened. US obstructionism further worsened. India tried hard to ensure consensus around permanent solution for the public stock holding of food for food security purposes. And this aspect I am not explaining in detail because in the previous lectures I covered in detail. The contention of the industrial countries to fast track e-commerce stocks, commitment for reductions in fishing subsidies were also postponed. The industrial countries keen to move the agenda forward from development, but development was the main focus of Doha, and that is to be brought to the logical conclusion. And India and China submitted proposal to end the trade distorting farm subsidies of Western countries. Donald Trump's disdain for multilateral forums and agreements was clear once again. So, this is the outcome of this ministerial conference at Buenos Aires. Nothing came out, 4 days of discussions. So, have a nice day and thank you.